everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends. My name is David Waralu. Good to be with you as always. The reason I decided to do this live stream here is to really clear up some confusion as to what just happened in the last 48 hours regarding the Wagner group. As you recall, yesterday it was one question about it. I didn't want to answer it because I didn't have certain info. That's what I did between yesterday and this morning to confirm certain info. And I decided, so I'm going to share some things with you here. Then, of course, you reach your own conclusions and so forth. But before I'll do all this, like I like to first start these live streams with expressing my sincere thanks and appreciation to the channel's members, supporters, subscribers. And if this is your first time landing here, please make sure to subscribe. And while at it, smash that notification button so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. It was a comment, by the way, before I forget. It was a comment from somebody said, well, Dr. O, you spend too much time talking about, greeting this and that before you get into the topic. I respect the individual's comment, but the way I look at it, guys, it's my way of showing respect for all of you. Yes, it might take a little bit more time. So what? I'd rather show that gratitude and respect than just use this platform just for whatever. That's the reason why. I mean, I appreciate the person who put the comment there, and I respect his or her opinion for that matter. But that is the reason why. So, and I usually, it's a priority to me. I always have learned as I was growing up that you always show gratitude no matter what. It can go very, very, very far. So that's the reason why I want to do this. And speaking of members, while I'm thinking about it, so just to remind you, guys, because I promised you, once we hit 100 members, I am going to do, those are channel members. I'm going to do a special Q&A or an exclusive Q&A for the members only. So if you're interested, make sure to become a member of the channel. So let me go back to the main screen here where you guys are. Oh, I want to say thank you for super sticker here. I got to show this one. Oh, Donnie Dim. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Truly appreciate it. And I don't know, it's the first time I've seen your name on the screen here. So welcome to our community. So thank you so much here. And like we always do, guys, if you can type in where you're joining me from. I mean, I know some names here that I can tell exactly where they're from because I've been, I look at like Boone. Boone is one of our members that's been with me at least since I started all this. So thank you very much, Boone. And thank you for confirming that the mic is working. So I learned my lesson from last time when I was talking and the mic wasn't working. So thank you for confirming that one. So yeah, if you will be kind, just type in later on to see where you are joining me from. And I really appreciate it. And Boone, by the way, is joining me from Berlin, originally from Malaysia. That's where he's at. Mako Nima from Brazil. Good to have you. All the way through Magawanzi from South Africa. Good to have you here. Zaid from Ohio. Thag Dwayne from London. White Oscreen from KSA. That's the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So, Femi from where are you here? Femi from, gosh, it keeps moving here. From Bremen, Germany. Speaking of Germany, just to guys let you know, and I'm not gonna do a tour around the world this time because I want to get into this topic here. But are you guys aware that there are demonstrations at the time of this live stream here in near the Ramstein military base? The demonstrations are asking for the U.S. to get out of Germany in Ramstein. Yeah. So I haven't seen anything here in the media yet. I intend to call some members of my family. I have family members who live in Europe, some in Germany, some in Holland, some in France, some in England, some in Spain, some in Italy. So they are scattered all over. So I intend to call the closer ones over there to confirm this one here, because I want to make sure that is exactly what it is, and that's what the issue is all about. So, oh yeah, here's somebody say, I saw that on TV. Peace activist. Yeah, they are asking for the U.S. to get out of Ramstein. That's and basically it's. I mean, you take a step back and think about it, guys. We have about 30,000 plus troops in Germany. What does it say? What does it say about the country that is hosting the Americans first? And second, what does it say about us allocating that massive amount of troops in Germany? So, and like I always say, on a paper, we might say it's no different than Australia, no different than Canada. On paper, it might say that, yeah, it's not it might, it does say that the country is sovereign. But is it? So that's something to think about. Oh, let me say thank you to SK Wong. Thank you so much, sir, for your super sticker. Truly appreciate you for doing this. Thank you so much. So that was one of the White Austrian. Love your channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That just begs the question. It's no different than what's going on in Okinawa. Why do you think the locals in Okinawa has been vociferously speaking loud about we want the Americans out, and the Japanese government in Tokyo pressing down this kind of so I just remembered when I saw Germany here, some guests from some viewers from Germany here. So all right, let's Hong Kong, China. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Can anybody help me, guys? I can't pronounce the name there. So anyway, good to have you here. Brandon Berg from Detroit. Good to have you. I used to cross through Detroit when I go to Canada, usually when I used to drive to Canada sometimes. Sam Stone from Scotland. Good to have you. Garrett from Kentucky, my neighbor. Good to have you here. Okay. So let me, guys, get on the topic of what I'm going to be talking about today. So Wagner Group. And again, yesterday, as I said, it was the question, but I said I can't answer this because I didn't have enough information to ensure what I'm saying is accurate to the best of my knowledge. So, and that's what I did between yesterday and this morning. I have my ways of checking information. I have my own contacts. And that was one of the reasons also why I was in Ukraine a month ago. So I was on the ground. So what's going on with this is we need to understand it first through some questions. Because that's sometimes when you ask the question first, then you will be able to frame the issue, whatever that might be. Now, some of you might disagree with me, which is perfectly okay, and I respect your opinion, of course. Some of you might disagree with me about the title. What did I put in the title for the description? I put, is or was a failed attempt coup? Why did I use the term coup? Okay, because again, I am thinking about what took place in 2016 in Turkey. Similar setting. It was established from the military back then. Now, the reason I use the term coup, there are those who will disagree with this. Like, no. That was just an internal squabbling, which is most of it is. Except that for me personally, and again, I could be wrong, but I am convinced in my opinion, not because it's my opinion, but I'm convinced in my thinking about it. And why? It's because if hypothetically, what's his name is the Wagner Group leader, if he would have ended up going to Moscow, okay, and end up controlling, let's say, the Kremlin, like he did in Rostov, he controlled the the military headquarters there. What will we call it back then, or by then? What will we call it? You won't call it a coup? That was the reason why, because I was thinking far ahead of what would have happened had he walked into, because he was marching towards Moscow, because his location, Wagner, that is the group, its location in Rostov was only about 430 kilometers from Moscow. That was the reason why I used the term coup. Yeah. Then the second question within this topic that I asked, or is it just an internal squabbling, which most likely lean towards that, and I will tell you why. But there's a third question we need to ask within the same question, or the third part of the same question. Was it an insurrection? Yeah, those are legitimate questions to think about. Then come the biggest, or the big elephant in a room, as in a form of question. Who was behind it? Because this just happened suddenly. I mean, don't tell me. I've been around long enough now to know certain things don't happen overnight unless there are some other mechanisms by which, like this one here, for the Wagner group to take this 180-degree turn. Yes, and I'm going to get into why and all that, and I'll let you guys decide on your own, or reach your own conclusion for that. Let me say thank you to KL. KL, thank you so much for your super sticker. I truly appreciate it. Like I always say, guys, I like to extend my thanks first to all the members, to all the super stickers, because that's the right thing to do. Let me, there we go. Then I'll move back to my other screen where I had my information. So first of all, to those who might not know what Wagner is, I'm sure you've heard of it, but we don't assume, never assume, and especially with something like this. To me, as a presenter, it behooves me to just put that out there, and if you know it, you know it. If you don't know, you do. So Wagner's, we've been aware of it, especially in my days in Washington and all that, because this is nothing new, by the way. Majority of governments, not all, I shall not generalize, they have what they call the private military. We have one too. At that time, we still do, by the way. It was Blackwater. And I was on Iraq. Yeah, I was on Iraq the day Blackwater committed those crimes. And I was just shaking my head because I said, no. This is breaking the law beyond whatever. So, and I was just questioning the judgments of the government at that time, our government. You can't let this happen like this. Yes, you could have a private military, which we did. That's why Eric Prince, the head of the Blackwater, went ahead and changed its name and went ahead and opened other operations in Dubai, in the Gulf states, the training people there and so forth. So this is nothing new about Wagner. The Russian Federation is doing the same. So, well, of course, because Wagner was shrouded in secrecy, like Blackwater for us here. Then infamy after this. Now remember, what this is all about. We put in the term coup aside for now, and let's just talk based on how we see it. There are those who will say that is like power struggle between the Wagner group and the Ministry of Defense in Russia. So, because that's what it appears, is power struggle, a struggle that brings now only confusion to the forefront. And this is what that narrative of, is it an insurrection in Russia? So, and that is one of the key things about understanding what was the intention of Wagner's leader. His name is Yevgeny Prigozhin. What was his motives? First of all, and I'm not. I'll wait till I get to who is Yevgeny Prigozhin, and I'll get into that some. So the group had a key price, you know, because Wagner played a major role in extending Russia's foreign policy on the military aspects of it. We can't deny it that Wagner's has been present in Africa. They did a lot in Africa because also Russia's presence in Africa grew bigger. I said few months ago, actually about a year or so, and it's on a record. I said, mark my word, that Africa, it's going to become the new geopolitical ring between the three key players in the world: Russia, China, and the United States. And the reason I said that back then, because I was aware of the presence of Wagner in certain parts of Africa, in Mali and other parts, in addition to the conversation that was between Russia and Sudan for building a Russian naval base in Sudan with access to the Red Sea. That is why. So Russia, yes, used Wagner group forces. They were used in Africa, but we're gonna go back to Ukraine because that's where the whole issue is. The fight or the battle in Bakhmut, that victory is attributed or credited to Wagner Group. As a matter of fact, there are some reports I read, and I couldn't confirm it. So I'm going to share it, but I can't confirm it. So that because Wagner, they were there, they end up killing about 75,000 Ukrainian soldiers. Once again, I could not confirm this. I read it, but I couldn't confirm it. So the Bakhmut, that's why it became a big deal. And I did a video on just the in general term of the battle of Bakhmut, how this is going to be now a turning point for the worse for Ukraine. And that's exactly what happened. So Wagner Group ends up, or not Wagner Group, but rather Prigozhin, the Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group. What he ended up doing, he ended up criticizing the Russian military leadership. That's part of the problem that gets rolled like a ball, snowball rolling at a fast pace. So criticizing the Russian military leadership for weeks. It wasn't one time voicing frustration or whatever. No, it was for weeks, and calling to the point, Yevgeny is calling the top brass in the military of defense in Russia as incompetent. Well, usually the problem with that, if you are to become involved of a government operation in that way, criticizing the government that way, that's not a good strategy to begin with. And this is why it leads me to think in terms of why I use the term coup. Because if he's saying this way before that, what will he be saying hypothetically had he walked into Moscow? Which, by the way, the Russian president gave the order to stop that convoy by any means, and they did. They blew up the part of the convoy. It's because it's common sense. If Wagner, or this guy, not Wagner, when I say Wagner, guys, I'm referring to the leader of Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin. If he got it into his head that he's going to take down the Russian military, he must be living in a parallel world, in an illusion of sort. Or power gets to his head. And for the simple reason I'm saying this, because he doesn't have air power. As simple as that. So all Russia needed to do is send in some helicopters, blow up that convoy, end of it. That's the excuse me. There is another issue. And another issue with Yevgeny was he refused to sign a contract a contract to cooperate with the military, the Ministry of Defense in Russia, which basically you are shrugging your shoulder for saying, I don't care about what the Ministry of Defense thinks or says, whatever, which means basically bode well to the whole image of the Russian government, including its president. This is why this was a major problem. Or blow, if I may use the term. So the tensions between the Russian Defense Ministry and Wagner escalated dramatically as of Friday. So when Yevgeny Prigozhin alleged, and I use the term carefully here, alleged that the Russian forces has attacked Wagner field camp in eastern Ukraine. Yeah, you ask yourself a question. I mean, literally, put all your judgment and prejudice, whatever, and bias aside, and just think independently. Why will Russia do that against its own citizens? It's no different than the argument about Nord Stream 2. You all know, oh, it was the Russians that blew it up. Why will Russia do that? Same argument here. And what Prigozhin, the mistake he made, I believe, the mistake he made was when he issued a videotaped remarks that appeared to call for a rebellion against the Russian military leadership. That's, I think, his big mistake, because he ended up shooting himself in the foot. And I'll tell you why as I move forward in this. But however, he refrained from ever criticizing Russian President Vladimir Putin. Remember, there was some sort of, they knew each other. Yevgeny Prigozhin and Russian President Vladimir Putin, they knew each other for a long, long time. And by the way, who is this Yevgeny Prigozhin? Well, he's not a military man, by the way. He has zero military experience. He was a chef, cooking chef. Yeah, that's that. And he has grown over time. His publicity has grown over time because he was the one who founded the group. And he was, because at the beginning, he was running a catering company with Kremlin contracts. That's how he got to be exposed to the Russian president. They became, I won't call them friends. I don't know what nature of the relationship, but at least they become closer, shall we say. And to the point that he was given the nickname Putin's chef. Yeah. So that this is where the background story. So the one thing I want you to get in mind, yeah, the group is highly trained because it has in its ranks. It's like what we had with Blackwater. Well, who were they? You know, all of them were retired SEAL team and former Army Rangers and Delta and all that. And that's how it works in our military. Once you go through years of military, you acquire that training, become a contractor. So it's no different. But for him, he had zero military experience. What he had access to is millions of dollars. That's why he was able to afford funding this kind. Of course, he will get contract from the Russian government to support whatever operations there was in Africa or some other parts of the world. But the one thing you need to know is that he does not have any military background whatsoever. So, and this is where those tensions between the Wagner's chief, Yevgeny Prigozhin, and the Russian military brass became so violent ahead of past day, just yesterday, because the Wagner was able to capture a key army headquarters in southern Russia, in Rostov area. That's what made it very, very not a problematic for Russia, but it's a major development. Because remember, they fought hard in Bakhmut. There's the one who defeated the Ukrainians there. You give credit where credit is due. And, but the question that we all need to ask is, what about this? It's just about face this sudden turn. Why? And who was behind it? If it was anybody behind it. Of course, this morning, Yevgeny is no longer in Russia. He left to Belarus because the Belarusian president, Alexander Lukashenko, broke a deal between the Russian government and the Wagner group. So the deal was that the Russian government will not prosecute him if he leaves Russia. He left. He's in Belarus. And the Russian government gave immunity to the members of the group who are staying in Russia. They won't be prosecuted. Things could change, of course, because this is a major blow to the Russian president. Yeah, make no mistake about it. Optics, as I always say, and this is what I'm starting to ask myself, the questions that ought to be asked. What was the turning point into that? Because that goes beyond just having disagreement with someone. You might not like the Secretary of Defense, the Russian one, Sergei Shoigu. And Shoigu, by the way, the current defense minister, he's not a military man either. Let's just put the dots on the letter, as we say. So this way you have a full picture of it. Shoigu is good at administrative and management aspects of it. So, and he's based on what I know about the guy, based on what I read, of course, he has some degree of engineering of sort. So, and his relationship with the Russian president goes way back. We're talking over decades or two. They go way back. So he has the Russian president has the trust of Shoigu. But the problem that with Yevgeny is that he made this publicly open. He could have voiced this concern directly. As a matter of fact, a couple of months ago, which wasn't reported openly, at least if you know where to look for the information, you could find it. The Russian president invited both of them, Shoigu and the head of the Wagner, Yevgeny, sort of asking them to knock it off with this tit for tat, because it's going to become problematic, and it's exactly what is happening. So now he is out of the picture. So the question becomes, which we all need to ask, what will become of the group? Okay. There is already a conversation. I'm going to share a picture with you guys just for you to see. There is already a conversation about this group here. The Chechens. As a matter of fact, the Chechens, which is called the Ahmed group, already offered the Russian government to go to Rostov and get the Wagners out. But we all know what it means. That will be Russians killing Russians, which is bad. This is why the Russian president, when he gave the speech on Saturday, that was one of the reasons also why I had to wait, because till I gather my facts. When he gave the speech, he used one of the key aspects of it. And this one has to do with the Bolshevik. Why? It's because if you know the history of Russia during that time, of Soviet Union back then in the 1917. So historians agree that the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 laid the foundation, of course, for the emergence of the Soviet Union. But how did it came about? And of course, after that, it evolved from a combination of factors that included economic policy, failure, war fatigue, and displeasure with the autocratic system of government under the authority of the Tsar at the time, Nicholas II. So the 1917 revolution was to overthrow Nicholas II. So, and ended, of course, the Romanov dynasty. Once again, why am I saying this? Not only because It was part of what the president mentioned in his speech to the nation, but also of what the Wagner group is calling about wanting to end the bureaucracy and corruption. Do you guys see the parallel? And all I'm doing here, guys, provide you the facts, information, let you reach your own. So, and this is what, of course, later on, if we go back to 1917, the emergence of socialists, and by October 2025, I'm sorry, October 25th, 1917, the communists took over. This is what, of course, in 1930, the Bolshevik has managed to create an illiberal Soviet subject who lost, because at that time, anyone lost his identity and values in the public culture of the state. And consequently, as you may know, historically, it became challenging for any citizen at that time within the system to think of himself or herself or feel outside the terms defined by the public discord of the Bolsheviks. And any dissenting thoughts or emotions were likely to be felt as a crisis of the self, demanding to be purged from the personality. And the reason I'm saying all this is because that's part of the research that I did for the Russian book over there. That's why I remember, and that's why I end up using the term coup in the title. I know some will disagree, and that's okay. That's okay. But that was the reason why I draw my conclusions through that. So now you have the spokesperson for the Kremlin, Dmitry Peskov, already told the reporter that the criminal case, get this, guys, and I quote it here because that's his word, criminal case against Prigozhin will be dropped. He himself will go to Belarus, end of quote. So I think Prigozhin, Yevgeny, already shot himself in the foot the moment he crossed that line. It's because what he showed is that authority or the law, whatever, hierarchy didn't mean a thing to him. So could he be under the illusion of he want to be or wanting to become the secretary or their minister of defense? But the guy's not qualified for. So, and this leads me to talk about. And by the way, Peskov himself added that the Wagner, who has taken part in the authority in this rebellion, if I don't know what else to call it, in this armed rebellion, will not be prosecuted. By the way, because that's going to become, because it will not look good for the Russian president or Russia for that matter if Russians start killing Russians. That's it. If that started, it's over. This is, again, if you read the speech of the Russian president that he gave on Saturday, it's all over the websites and all that with the translation in English. He mentioned exactly these aspects of the history of Russia in the 1970, because exactly it's almost history repeating itself, first as evidence and second as a farce. This one, the latter one, might be a farce in this case, because what Yevgeny did is, defies logic, or did power get into his head, or was he recruited by an outside element? What do you guys think? I'm going to share something with you, but it's not confirmed. So when I say it's not confirmed, I'm only sharing till I confirm it, and I intend to follow up on it. But for now, I want to share it with you. The reason why the sudden change into all this is because it was a prize that was presented to Yevgeny, the head of Wagner group. Prigozhin, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the price of about $6.5 billion. That was his price if he moves forward with the plan. I can confirm that. So, but I would not withheld that from sharing it with you. Uh, is $6 billion too much? No. To my knowledge and how things work, no. Not for something like this, because that's exactly what the West wants. They want to get rid of the Russian president. They want to dismantle the Russian Federation altogether. It's because access to resources. So what's $6 billion? It's nothing. And this is why I said again, Yevgeny Prigozhin shot himself in the foot. Even if he would have got that money, he won't get a chance to enjoy it anyway. Because now I feel he signed his own death warrant. You might not hear about it for a while. One day, it will be some sort of an accident. Oh, he passed away. So, and that's why I asked the question, what will become of the Wagner group? Will the Russian now absorb those into the military? I don't see that, even though they are highly trained. Will the Russian Federation or Russian President Vladimir Putin will allow the Chechens to take over and incorporate that group under? I don't see that happening either. I don't see a member of Wagner group working under the leadership of a Chechen. So even the Chechens are very, very brutal and fighters. So as a matter of fact, they were willing to go to Rostov and get the Wagner group out. But it will be a bloody conflict if it would have happened. So the good news is that the Russian president was able to put an end to it within 48 hours. But it's still the echo of something like this around the globe is already sending messages. You already have the West, the U.S. President Biden, which, by the way, he might not even be aware of this. Why am I saying this? And again, to go back to, as one who worked in Washington, I understand how the intelligence community works, that is, for all the planning and all that. That's why I use the term, was there an outside entity involved? And if it were, I can only think of two. Who do you guys think? If you can type in the answer for me, who do you think the two entities that will really coordinate for something like this? Let me take a look, see if I can read your answers there. And I'm sure you'll get it right. So, yeah, two entities that I see will play into this, no more. It's because it happened before, throughout history. Oh, I'll take this opportunity to say thank you to Brandon Burke. Thank you very much, sir, for your super sticker. I think it's staged. A troop set by Russia, like Bakhmut, for U.S. to fall into. Russia wants them to dump more dollar and weapons in Ukraine to finish demilitarizing themselves. Demilitarized, yes, themselves, whatever the reason. It's a stunt. Yeah, what can I say? I want to rule that out either. Knowing how, for example, the little thing that I read about how KGB used to operate back then, this is the kind of decoys was part of the plans of any intelligence operations. I won't be surprised staged at that level. Could it be that the Russian president will forgive Yevgeny later on for this? But if it does, then it becomes the question of betrayal. And let alone the other important thing. Once again, thank you so much for your super sticker. One of the things that I was thinking about is, what was President Putin thinking way back when he was developing this relationship with Putin's chef, Yevgeny, was he thinking in the back of his mind when he authorizes the formation of this special group that one day chicken can come home to roost? I'm sure he did. I am certain the Russian president considered this possibility. He just didn't see it maybe under this kind of circumstances. And that's why made the comment here by the comment by Brendan makes perfect sense too. Staging things is part of, that just operations aspects of it. Because you're looking already, the Ukrainians are trying to come to that part in Bakhmut, which could be a trap. I'm not ruling that out too. That's why I can't reach a definitive conclusion because this stuff like this, it needs more than 48 hours to analyze. And yeah, you have to look at certain classified information. You have to sift through if you get access to it and so forth. That's why it's not an easy thing to make a conclusive conclusion about. So let me see what your answer is about who the two entities you will think will get involved in something like this. $6 billion. Tony is saying CIA operation that failed. There are already those who are arguing that it's both MI6 and the CIA. MI6 will not do anything by itself, by the way. And again, why am I saying this? I'm saying this based on historical events. I'll go back to 1953 with the coup that took out Dr. Mossadegh in Iran. It was both MI6 and CIA coordinated effort. Why? Because they didn't like when Dr. Mossadegh wanted to nationalize the oil stuff, and because we wanted to have access to it. So Belarus now becomes the wild card. By the way, Belarus, do you guys know that Belarus used to belong to Poland? It used to be called Biorussia, something like that. Well, it's one of the Slavic hard words, Biorussia. So something like that. So anyway, and there is now a concern in Belarus that hypothetically, should there be tensions with Polish, they are concerned because their army could not stand to the Polish. And this is why the Russian president decided to deploy the tactical weapons to Belarus. This way, it does two objectives: protect Belarus first, but of course, deploy it from that part of the world towards Europe, including Poland and so forth. So this is where I see how Yevgeny now miscalculated, because to me it looks like an extravagant ambition, and personal interest in sort of power. It surprised me that he will be thinking in these terms. Yes, he might not have military background, but this kind of something is not right about the whole setting of it. That just because Yevgeny began building his power base as a catering, as I said, contractor. So when you are a contractor to the Kremlin, you have access to the elites, some decision makers, and so forth. And now he gave the order. Yevgeny gave the order to his people. Let me share a picture with you. I saw a picture that I took for you guys. Not I took it. I kept it. This is a picture of them leaving Rostov area. So this is one. And this other picture here, that's when they were marching towards taking over the military headquarters in that part. So that is where Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So here is my own analysis here, and this is my personal opinion, and just thinking on the big picture. And the way I look at this is that I look at it from how the Russian president is responding to all this. Uh, because I read his statement in the translated version, so I hope the translation was accurate. Uh, and basically, what he's saying is that the Russian president is saying that he is confident that Moscow will still achieve its plans and tasks related to its military operations in Ukraine. So basically, what he's saying is that with this hiccup, either real or perceived or made up, whatever that is, the objective's still there. The military objectives are still there. You know? And this is because he's in constant in contact with the Ministry of Defense and so forth. So Russian President Vladimir Putin also attaches the importance to Russian economic development, despite what you hear. It's because you have to maintain the balance. That's one. And second, you have to give not the impression, but really the real image to the population that somebody is in command, somebody is in charge. The country is not descending into chaos. This is why when I read the statements, and I look for keywords for all that. So. And interesting enough is that next week it will be the equivalency. They do have what we have here in the US, the equivalency of the National Security Council. They have the same thing. It's called the National Security Council of the Russian Federation. That's going to be meeting next week. Well, the Russian president will be attending that personally this time around. So the next question we need to ask is, okay, is this agreement between the Russian president and Yevgeny Prigozhin is likely to be temporary truce at best? You know, that's why, because again, I am reading the statements of when the Russian president was asked, would you forgive? He said, most likely, but I will never forget. And he used the term betrayal. Why? He's reflecting the history of what the Soviet Union and the Russians went through throughout their history. You know, Bolshevik being the example of it. That's why he's saying, yeah, you might forgive some others, but you can't forgive betrayal. So because in his word, and this is again what led me to use the term coup, because in his word, he described what happened as a real coup. It's no different than what the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, back in 2016 said the same term or used the same word. So, again, I'm not convinced that Yevgeny Prigozhin will be that stupid to go that far. And that's, again, what prompts me to come on the air, because I want at least share a few things with you guys, and you decide whatever conclusion you wanted to reach. So, and again, because history, always use history as your guide. Go back to 1917 and only to realize how back then the Soviet Union at that time suffered devastating domestic blow that followed its setback in World War I. So, and this is why Putin said that the enemy is external now as it was that year, meaning back in 1917. So the next logical question we need to ask is, what's next? What do you guys think? What do you think? Because I like to have your input. Your inputs are important to me as well, because in this part, we're just community here. We're all exchanging ideas. What do you think will be next for the Wagner Group, including its leader? Let me see if I can read some of your answers here. Oh, Tuck Dwayne, you're right. MI6 and CIA. That you're absolutely correct. The majority is saying that it could be. That's why I'm not surprised at the $6 billion. It's nothing for something like this to achieve. It's because, and by the way, if that to be the case, if it were the case, President Biden might not even know about it. Yeah, he will be kept in the dark about this one. Well, he's, mentally, he can't be thinking straight anyway. So, yeah, what do you think is going to be? Well, somebody put Spanky the monkey. You wrote traitors need to be hung. you know, it's going to be very challenging now. By the way, the Wagner Group is about 2025, give or take. They are highly trained, and some of them former military, some of them former prisoners, some of them, they don't care for, don't think in terms of loyalty to Yevgeny. No, they don't care for that. It's who's going to pay them. That's like what it is with our contractors. And do they care for, at that time, for Eric Prince or Blackwell? What? No, they care for who's paying them. End of story. That's just how it works for that that kind of dark world, if I may use the term. So, but they don't have air power. So, if Russia can get them together, they will just wipe them out. But how that's gonna be looking? Because one thing that is working in favor of the Russian president, you know what it is, guys? Is the public support. So if he end up giving the orders, just wipe out the entire Wagner group through on airstrikes, whatever, how that's gonna bode? It won't bode well for him. So, and he's not gonna go that route. So it becomes a question: do you absorb that group into the military of defense, which I don't see that, or do you let them fall under the Chechens, or someone else will step in and take over, which I don't see that happening either. Because so it's I don't claim to have an answer. I don't have an answer for that at this time. So that's just how I see it. So if the other thing that you need to keep in mind is that Yevgeny Prigozhin is on FBI most wanted. So, if we are to say MI6 or the CIA was involved, usually, to my knowledge, when entities like this get involved in something and something happens for the person that we either trying to recruit or do whatever, we end up having to bring them over to our country. So it's not the case. You all remember, I forget his name, by the way. I disclosed it in the book. The guy who used to work for the KGB and fled to UK. And he was neutralized using plutonium drips in his drink. So in the UK. Yeah. And that's why it begs the, just for you to think outside the box. He went to Belarus, but not to the UK, but not to, if this to be the case, that the event was supported by outside elements. And I can conclusively confirm that. I can't, because I don't know. So same thing with the $6 billion. The one thing that I know for sure is that $6 billion is not a lot of money for something like this. So, because those agencies do have that kind of money for it. Oh, Schiphol. Yes. Thank you very much, Boone. That's what it was. I forgot his name. Yeah. And why? Because he ended up betraying the KGB, the Russians, and all that stuff, and disclosing some in the world of intelligence, espionage, and all that. You need to know the risks you are getting into. That's why young people do not understand when, for example, CIA approached them or NSA, whatever. I was approached back then by NSA that they'll say they'll pay for my PhD and all that stuff, and And just it's like, no, thank you. So, that doesn't mean that I did some work in Washington in conjunctions with the intelligence community. I won't deny that, and I won't hide it either. So I don't discuss that kind of stuff. That's my private life, and I don't usually talk about my private life. Certain things, it's off limit. You know, that's like my family, whatever. I don't talk about that kind of stuff. So or my background, whatever. So that's just how it is. So this is why I decided to share this with you, because I want you guys to know, and that's where I'm going to end it here, because I don't want to be just rambling here. There's a lot to unpack. Still, things are evolving. I'll be watching. I'll be happy to do a video for you guys, or do another live stream if you want me to do an update. By the way, thank you to those who put a reminder as far as the health channel and doing a video about NATO in the Sahel. Thank you so much. It was if my memory serves me well, it was Joan and Jack Robert. If my memory serves me well, thank you so much for this. So be on the lookout for a video I'm going to release for you tomorrow. Tomorrow or Tuesday. I think I'll release it tomorrow for you guys. Be on the lookout for one tomorrow, and if you want me to do an update about this, we can do one in the middle of the week or next weekend. So let me take a look at any question from you guys. I'm gonna go all the way back. Then and I'm gonna sign off after this one here. So all right, let me go all the way back up here. Oh, Boone, thank you so much for your super sticker. And you said, please explain the difference between a coup and insurgents. Thanks. Well, the coup usually, to my knowledge, is the coup will be organized from within the government. An insurgent, usually you hire an outside element that are not affiliated with the government, and they can take over usually or infiltrate the governments until they take over. That's usually the coup is straightforward. You take over the key resources, the media, the parliaments, the presidential palace. Those are the key things you need to take off right away. Then whomever is conducting the coup will initiate that. This is how insurgents. This is how it's going to be now. I am in charge, and the old regime is gone. Insurgents, it goes through certain type of fighting, if you will. There will be almost street fighting, if I may use the term, with machinery and all that stuff, and it becomes like what you are witnessing. I'm trying to think of a country that I can give you an example. I can't think on the top of my head. So, but that's usually the difference between the two. Let me see another question, and I will sign off here. And thank you, by the way, guys, for being here. I know I wasn't expected to come over and do the show, but I got up this morning very early, and I kind of was waiting on some confirmation, and it came through, and I decided, no, I'm gonna go ahead and do the live stream for the channel's members. So let me see. And like I always say, guys, if you will be kind, just put Q so I know it's a question, because there are a lot of statements, and I appreciate you guys engaging in this civil conversation here. It's really refreshing, and I do read all your comments later on when I go check, and I do read your comments. So thank you so much for that. Okay, let me see here. And by the way, there are those who say that Yevgeny was recruited by the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. I don't see that. I don't see that. I mean, it's possibility, but Oh, Myanmar. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see the development. And as I said, I will keep my eyes open on it, and I'll provide you an update. All right, guys. I hope you find it very informative. And if this is your first time, help me out by hitting that like button and subscribe to the channel, because I wanna grow this channel bigger. I am in the process of working on the health channel. Didn't forget it, and it just has to be the right setting to provide that. It will be no geopolitics in that channel whatsoever. It will be about health, because you need to know certain things. And I am in these recent travels that I did, what I noticed was a lot of people getting sick. People look sick. So it's like, go figure. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, guys. Bye bye.